ACA Code of Ethics, Section H. Distance counseling, technology, and social media. Boy, this year, this section of the ACA Code of Ethics became real. So we need to understand that the profession of counseling is no longer limited to in-person, face-to-face interactions. For a long, long time, people thought that was the only way to do counseling and the best way to do counseling. But I think COVID has taught us otherwise. Although some counselors were already engaging in telemental health and teletherapy before COVID, now we know just how effective it can be. So counselors are going to attempt to understand the evolving nature of this profession with regards to distance counseling, technology, and social media, and how these resources can better serve our clients. So we strive to become knowledgeable about these resources, and we understand the additional concerns related to the use of distance counseling, to technology, to social media, and to make every attempt to protect confidentiality and meet any legal and ethical requirements for the use of such resources. So let's think about our knowledge and legal considerations. If we engage in the use of distance counseling, technology, and/or social media, we need to develop the knowledge and skills regarding any technical, ethical, and legal considerations. For example, are special certifications required? Do we need to do additional coursework? Do we know about how confidentiality is impacted in a virtual or remote setting? Some things, lots of things to think about. How do we reach suicidal clients when they are not in our presence, but are on the other side of a screen? So the first thing is, when we engage in the use of distance counseling, technology, and social media within our counseling practice, we have to abide by laws and regulations, both of our practicing location and of the client's place of residence. So for example, Louisiana law says that if we're going to provide distance counseling, that we have to be in the same state as our client. We have to be licensed by our state. And so if our client is out of state, let's say our client is in Nebraska, then in order to provide counseling for our client in Nebraska, we need to be licensed by the state of Nebraska. That's according to Louisiana law. So we ensure that our clients are aware of any pertinent legal rights and limitations governing the practice of counseling across state lines or even international boundaries. This came up recently in a school setting. I was consulting with a school counselor who is doing virtual counseling with a student, and the student is in, I want to say India, and she's concerned about child abuse, but doesn't even know how do you report child abuse when the student or client is in another country. This was particularly challenging situation because the student was enrolled as a student in her school. So there is a legal responsibility to that student, but at the same time, the student is in a different country and she's got to abide by the laws of that country. So she will probably need to wait until the student returns home. And then if there's a suspicion of abuse, reported at that time. Informed consent and security. Our clients have the freedom to choose whether to use distance counseling, whether to use social media or technology within the counseling process. And so in addition to our usual and customary protocol of informed consent that we use in face-to-face counseling, we need to consider the unique issues of distance counseling, technology, and social media that we're going to address in our informed consent process. So things like, if we have distance counseling credentials, there's a credential that you can get through the National Board for Certified Counselors. And in order to practice telemental health in Louisiana, you need to have the approval of the board to do that. We need to talk about the physical location of our practice and contact information so our clients know where to reach us. The risks and the benefits of engaging in the use of distance counseling, It expands a client's ability to access counseling services when we engage in distance counseling, but there are some risks involved, especially with the use of technology and social media. The possibility of technology failure. What do we do if we're seeing a client and there's a thunderstorm and their power goes out? What are alternate methods of service delivery? Can we pick up the telephone and call them and provide counseling over the phone? Anticipated response time, emergency procedures to follow when the counselor's not available, time zone differences, cultural and or language differences that can affect our delivery of service. The possible denial of insurance benefits if an insurance company doesn't approve of distance counseling, and social media policy. Counselors are going to acknowledge the limitations of maintaining the confidentiality of electronic records and the transmission of those records. We inform clients that individuals might have authorized or unauthorized access to such records or transmissions. These might be our colleagues, our supervisors, employees, and information technologists. Counselors inform clients about the inherent limits of confidentiality when using technology. We don't know who's on the other side of a screen, so it's hard to ensure confidentiality. We urge our clients to be aware of authorized and unauthorized access to information that's disclosed using this medium in the counseling process. We use encryption standards within websites or technology-based communication. For example, the Zoom that I use is encrypted. You can always tell that by a little green shield that appears at the top left-hand corner. We take reasonable precautions to ensure confidentiality of information that is transmitted through electronic means. Counselors who do engage in the use of distance counseling technology and or social media to interact with clients are going to make sure that they verify the client's identity at the beginning of the session or the technology use and throughout the therapeutic process. So verification might include things like using code words, numbers, graphics, or other nondescript identifiers. You want to make sure that someone else is not on the other end because you've got to protect your client confidentiality. We inform our clients of the benefits and the limitations of using technology applications when we provide counseling services. Such technologies include computer hardware and or software, telephone and applications, social media and internet-based applications, and other audio or video communication or data storage devices or media. I know that when COVID began, school counselors in the Caribbean were using WhatsApp to communicate with students. That was the way that they were communicating with their students. WhatsApp has end-to-end encryption, and they felt like that was the safest route to go for them. Professional boundaries in distance counseling, we have to understand how important it is to maintain professional relationships with our clients. Sometimes the screen can create a more informal setting. So it's really important that we discuss and establish professional boundaries with our clients regarding the appropriate use and application of technology and the limitations of its use within the counseling relationship. For example, we have to set boundaries. When is it appropriate to use it and not use it? If we're using email, we need to have some limitations or boundaries on our email so we're not responding 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. If we're providing technology-assisted services, we have to make reasonable efforts to make sure that our clients are able to use the application intellectually, emotionally, physically, linguistically, and functionally, and that it is appropriate to the needs of our clients. We're going to verify that our clients understand the purpose and operation of the technology applications that we use and follow up with our clients to make sure we clear up any misconceptions and to discover appropriate use and assess subsequent steps. When we determine that our counseling services delivered distantly are ineffective, then we're going to reconsider having face-to-face service. If we're not able to provide face-to-face service, for example, if we live in a different state, then we're going to assist our client in finding or identifying appropriate services. We'll provide information to our clients regarding reasonable access to pertinent applications when providing technology-assisted services. We have to think about things like connectivity. Is there a good Wi-Fi connection? Is there satisfactory, do they have a device that can deliver appropriate service? Consider the differences between face-to-face and electronic communication. Think about verbal and nonverbal cues and body language and how this can affect the counseling process. Counselors educate their clients on how to prevent and address potential misunderstandings that might arise from a lack of visual cues if you're on a voice-only application, and voice intonations when communicating electronically. Thinking about keeping up records electronically and maintaining websites. We're going to maintain electronic records in accordance with relevant laws and statutes. We inform our clients on how records are maintained electronically. We have to let them know how we keep our records and how we keep them confidential. So this includes the type of encryption and security that we use. Of course, the gold standard is HIPAA compliant. We want to make sure our electronic records, whatever we're using, is a HIPAA compliant application. We want to make sure that our clients know how long we keep our records stored and maintained. If we offer distance counseling services or maintain a professional website and provide links to relevant licensure and professional certification boards to protect our consumers and client rights and address any other ethical concerns, we make sure that they know their rights. We're going to ensure that electronic links excuse me, are working and that they are professionally appropriate. If we maintain a website, it is our duty to make sure that they're accessible to people with disabilities and that they provide translation capabilities for clients who have a different primary language when it's feasible, and we acknowledge the imperfect nature of such translations and accessibilities. In cases where counselors wish to maintain a professional and personal presence for social media use, separate your professional webpage and your personal webpage and your profiles. Make sure they are clearly distinguishable between your two virtual presence. Same thing with social media. If you have a Facebook or Instagram page for your professional business, keep that very separate from your personal. We clearly explain to our clients as part of the informed consent process what the benefits and limitations and boundaries are on the use of social media. We respect the privacy of our clients' presence on social media, and we don't look at their social media unless they give us consent to view such information. And even if they give us consent, I would caution you not to view your client's social media. Take precautions to avoid disclosing confidential information through public social media. I remember a school counselor one time who posted on social media a situation that occurred at school regarding drama among some of the students. And while no names were posted, I think that had the students been able to see it, they would have figured out who exactly he was talking about. And that concludes our section H, ACA Code of Ethics.